We're getting calls from clients that they're terrified to leave their house because they don't know if ICE is going to be at their door.
Tonight, we want to take a closer look at moves on the state and federal level addressing immigration in our country. Just today, IMPD and IPS talked about their roles in recent policy moves. Just hours after the president returned to office, he signed a number of executive orders addressing immigration. His administration plans to send 1,500 more troops to the southern border. He has promised mass deportations. One order says state and local law enforcement would have to help enforce federal immigration laws. Now, here in Indiana, lawmakers tonight are considering a bill that supporters say gives guidance to local police on how to do just that. Under House Bill 1393, if a police officer arrests someone for a misdemeanor or a felony and then has probable cause to believe that person is undocumented, that officer would be required to report it to the county sheriff. The sheriff, in turn, would be required to tell ICE. People opposed to this bill say it's going to lead to racial profiling.
What is that reasonable doubt? Is it, again, you don't have a driver's license on you. I don't know how many times you or I walk around the neighborhood without a driver's license. Do we have to worry about proving our citizenship? I mean, I think it's a legitimate question.
Determination is not made just based off of pulling a person off the street. The determination is only made after an individual has been arrested for that felony or misdemeanor.
That Indiana bill passed out of committee on a 9-2 vote. So what does all of this mean for undocumented immigrants here in Indiana and the local agencies that may now be tasked with enforcing these laws? Our Logan Gay just talked with an Indianapolis immigration attorney to get some answers. Logan?
Yes, Scott, immigration attorney Rachel Van Tile says this is a complicated situation that gets more complicated by the day.
It's only been 3 days since President Trump's inauguration, and fears of possible ICE raids have reached Indiana.
It's kind of heartbreaking to see people who are trying to do the right thing often, especially with like our parolees from Venezuela or Haiti. They did technically do it the right way. They came in on a program that was available to them, and now they're terrified.
Rachel Van Tile is an immigration attorney and director of legal services at Exodus Refugee Immigration. She says it's been demoralizing to see recent plans to end a policy restricting ICE agents from arresting undocumented people at sensitive locations like churches, schools, and hospitals.
We've had a lot of calls, a lot of, people just asking, what do I do? What do I do in this situation? How do I protect myself?
That announcement has sparked local agencies like IPS to send this letter to parents, reassuring them their kids are safe at school, regardless of immigration status, and highlighted some of their policies in place to protect the privacy and security of students and staff, such as IPS not allowing any enforcement actions by ICE on school grounds without proper legal documentation. IMPD Police Chief Chris Bailey also sharing this post on social media, saying local police have no power to enforce federal immigration law and that they've never been asked to take part in immigration sweeps, nor do they plan to do so.
I'm really proud of our city for continuing to be the welcoming spirit that Hoosier hospitality is known for.
But if an ICE officer does come to your house, Van Tile says here's what you should know.
Immigration has to have a warrant signed by a judge before they would be able to arrest somebody. So if they show up at your house but they have no paperwork, you generally don't have to let them in.
But if they do show up with paperwork, here's what she suggests.
If ICE comes to your door and has a search warrant for a particular person, and that person's name is on the paper, the address, and it's signed by a judge, that person come to the front door and shut the door behind them so that you're not letting the police or ICE into your home.
Van Tile says because of vague language in the order, she worries other groups may also unintentionally be swept up in the system. So they're just going to keep doing their best to advise their clients.
Van Tile also mentioned everyone has a right to an attorney, but in immigration proceedings, there's no attorney appointed to you, so they will have to pay for one. And of course, after you give them your name, you have the right to remain silent.
All right, Logan Gay in our newsroom, thanks so much. A federal judge in Seattle tonight is temporarily blocking President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. Arizona, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington State sought the temporary restraining order. Now, it applies nationally. There are 4 other lawsuits tonight challenging that order from 22 states and a number of immigrant rights groups. The judge in the case is a Reagan appointee. During a hearing, he said the order boggles the mind. President Trump is promising to appeal.